What is up, everybody? Adam here with HIITCAST along with Dr. Trevor Binion.
How's it going?
And he's growing his mustache back.
It's making its return.
It's making its return. So, real fun one today. Super excited about today's HIITCAST because we're going to go over secrets or tips of fat loss.
Top secret
Files.
This is our
right here. You have to insert that that sound from what's the
X-Files or something.
Yeah, something like that, or that shoom. It's always in all
those
the TV
dramatic
shows.
thriller shows.
Yeah, we need that in there. Make sure you put that in there.
I'll see what I can do in post. This is our weight loss, fat loss episode, and I'm sure we're gonna return back to this theme so many times. But this is like our first weight loss, fat loss episode.
So simple of stuff that we're gonna go over today, but not so simple.
Yeah.
It'd be good. I think people are going to like it.
Yeah.
All right. So,
first, should we do like some of these first? Or actually, before we get into
let's define it. Let's define it.
Well, before we get all the way, let's define it, and then I got some current event stuff to share just while we're shooting the breeze.
Current events, go.
All right.
What'd you do this weekend? Tell them about that. That's pretty
cool. This
week,
was a packed weekend. I had some friends flying in from out of town, and there was here in Denver a dance competition, a salsa, the Denver Salsa Congress was here. So I went to that, and it was awesome. So dance is just such an incredible sport. A lot of these guys that were competing were world champions and stuff like that. And I'm looking at these guys, these athletes, as they're competing and showing off their skills. It really is such a powerful sport. It reminded me a lot of there was a lot of elements of gymnastics that was in there. Mm-hmm. The guys were just like super strong and powerful, throwing the ladies up in the air and stuff like that.
So you think you can dance?
Right. And I think shows like that have really brought into the mainstream the athleticism of what dance is.
Yeah.
I know that dance has like struggled to be recognized as a legit sport, which is silly because it totally is.
And that's a tough one though, because sport, I don't think sports are properly defined a lot of times.
Yeah. I think sports are defined by mainstream media in like high school funding. But you know, like if you look at like just what a sport is, the athleticism that demands it and stuff like that. Oh yeah, you can look up the definition there.
Yeah.
What does it say?
So, an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment.
There you go, I guess.
Yeah. An activity involving physical exertion in which, does that mean playing spoons could be a sport if I'm smiling while you're doing it?
Right, if it's for my entertainment.
Yeah, I don't feel that's the same thing.
Or like you're doing something really cool, I'm like, I'm not entertained.
Yeah. I watch baseball and I hate every minute of it. So to me, it's not a sport now.
Yeah.
I'm not entertained.
You know what? Same here.
It
Baseball
involves
just doesn't
physical
do it for
exertion.
me.
There's a lot of things that involve physical exertion, and watching porn is a sport specifically. Literally. By definition, porn is a sport. Physical exertion and others' entertainment. That is the number one sport on this planet.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're right. Like the definition of this kind of stuff probably should get redefined.
For sure.
Oh, that's so awesome.
That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me.
Oh,
all right.
Man.
Anyways.
So yeah, back to dance. These guys, through and through, athletes. And like I was saying, it really reminded me a lot of what you see in gymnastics, competitive gymnastics. The ladies are also very powerful, very strong, and very flexible. And it was just a really cool and inspiring thing to see these world champions compete. And something that I learned, I was there with some friends, and a friend of mine, Frida, she is, I didn't know this, I knew she was a dancer, but she placed second in the world championships in the semi-pro division of bachata. And she's also a salsa champion in her home state. Anyway, so it was cool. I was there with good company, professional dancers. But then also, I had a buddy flying in from out of town as well. So I just had friends upon friends flying in and visiting. And this other buddy that flew in a little bit later on, Dr. Langford, one of the coolest exercise physiologists that I know, and I know this guy real well. We've worked together for like 10 years now. We've done a whole bunch of research studies together, and when I say we've done a lot of research together, I mean like spent time conducting studies in a lab, not like Googling stuff. And yeah, this guy like was real influential, kind of a mentor to me over the years in terms of like the substrate oxidation research that I've done. And what that means is like using fats versus carbs as a fuel source during throughout physical activity. So it was just a real cool exercise science filled weekend for me. And yeah, I was able to scope out some really rad athletics.
That's cool.
Yeah, kind of a cool weekend.
I spent my weekend in Mexico, and I ate a lot of bad food.
So we both had pretty memorable.
It was perfect for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time.
That's way cool. All right, so let's see. On with our weight loss, fat loss themed, and I keep calling it weight loss, fat loss themed. We're gonna get into this a little bit later on. We're gonna define what is weight loss versus fat loss. We're gonna talk about stuff like that. One of the first questions that I want to throw Adam's way, and we'll kind of go back and forth. I think some of the things that we get asked the most have to do with supplements. I think people look to supplements as their magic pill. They look to supplements as this thing that's going to solve their problems for them or be this ultimate shortcut. And I mean, yeah, it sounds attractive, right? Like who doesn't want a shortcut when it comes to something like their health?
Work.
Yeah, hard work. So we're going to talk about our top 2 favorite weight loss, fat loss supplements, and then also the top 2 worst supplements, the ones that are out there,
that are being peddled,
getting tons of hype, and really it's just
hype.
Yeah, that's all it is.
That.
So Adam, let's hear your top 2 favorites, and then I'll do my top 2 favorites.
My top 2 favorite supplements. So my number 1 is for sure fish oil. I think fish oil has so many great benefits.
And why? What is it about fish oil that will help somebody to lose fat?
So for me, I don't like it for the fat loss component.
Interesting.
Not saying that that's not good, but for me, I love fish oil more for the joints and inflammation component of it. That's why I love it. Keeping inflammation down, in the muscle, in the joints, things of that nature, heart health, it's an EFA, it's an essential fatty acid. I like it for those components more than the fat loss component. And I like it like that because I just try not to, if I do recommend anything to anybody, I try not to make it for the fat loss because I don't want them to obsess about fat loss, weight loss, this number that they're trying to see go down. I have no clue. You're sitting on something weird. Yeah. I want them to focus on other things during this journey, and the byproduct of that will be the fat loss, the weight loss, things of that nature.
So you're looking at it as this is a supplement that will help them to exercise harder,
longer,
improve their health,
days, improve your health.
Yep.
And because of that, the byproduct will now be fat loss, weight loss, things of that nature.
I dig it.
I just don't want people to obsess about it. It's just so easy to obsess about. And you know as well as I do, the minute we start obsessing about what's going on in that scale, like truly obsessing about it, it won't move. You'll just sit there at the same way. Like
and to echo that exact statement, I was talking with my friend Vanessa, Dr. Martinez, and her PhD is in exercise physiology. She did her dissertation in sports psychology and looked into how people approach weight loss as a goal for exercise. And what she found was she's done so much cool stuff in this field. We got to get her as like a special guest one of these days.
Yes.
But one of the things that she discovered through her research was that when weight loss is their number 1 goal for exercising and physical activity, and if that's like their only goal, then there's a really high chance that they're going to drop off after a very short period of time. And it's only when they have other goals or ideally even other primary goals that they're valued higher of a priority than weight loss that they're able to persevere and stick through and stay compliant with those with their fitness recommendations and just going to the gym even the hard days. But when we obsess over weight loss, something happens, and those.
I think there's a lot of physiological things that happen within the body when we do that. I mean, just stress alone starts to happen. You know what I mean? We stress about this, and our body sees that stress the same way as it sees stress from our boss making us mad, our kids not eating enough, like internal, external stressors, whatever. Like it responds the same way. I mean, our body really can't differentiate those stressors. So that's why I do it. And the next one's going to be just BCAAs. I think BCAAs are crucial on many different levels. One, to make sure you're not sacrificing muscle, especially for somebody like myself that is an athlete, while I am training intense. On days that maybe my training goes a little bit longer, maybe things at the gym were crazy for me with all around. I haven't got the protein intake I've needed over the past few days, over the last 24 hours. I'm not going to sacrifice muscle. And then it's also just a good energy source because those three bound together can be utilized as energy. So it's a good non-caffeinated energy source to kind of get you through. Which you're
burn
for you. You're like, that doesn't make any sense. Caffeine is the only thing that makes sense. But which I get it. Like taking amino acids isn't going to give you this sudden great outlook. Like I'm going to kick today's workout's ass, but it gives you that little boost you need to when you're getting 5 reps to get maybe 2 or 3 more, or whatever it is. So those are my 2 favorite. I love those.
And speaking of the branched chain amino acids, if you remember the 3, remember this this mnemonic device. It always cracks me up. I love valine. Stands for isoleucine, leucine, and then since we can't think of anything that starts with V, we just say valine.
I can.
Yeah.
I for sure can.
Oh man, it came from a research conference a couple of years ago. Maybe the students couldn't think of it.
Virginia. I happen to love the state of Virginia. I love Virginia.
Awesome. So yeah, there you go. There's the branched chain amino acids. All right, my top 2 supplements for fat loss also includes fish oil. That's my number 2. My number 1 though is caffeine.
Caffeine.
Yeah. So if any kind of fat burner, over-the-counter fat burner, and which we're going to talk about in a minute here, any of those, the primary ingredient is most likely going to be caffeine. And then it's got lots of other cool, sparkly colors and stuff like that, and dyes and whatever, sparkly capsules and all this stuff. A lot of other fillers in there. But really, it's just the caffeine that's going to be the primary thing that's going to be helping you out. So caffeine does a lot of stuff towards fat loss, but it also does a lot more like indirect benefits towards fat loss than I think we realize.
And you guys, whatever you're doing right now, stop and get a piece of paper and pencil because this man has researched the shit out of caffeine. Like, I don't know anybody who knows how caffeine works beyond just giving you more energy in the body more than you. Like, you know caffeine probably better than you know you. Trevor knows caffeine. Like, he knows exactly how much you can take at what time spans and not die. Like your upper maximal doses, like what you can get away with and still be totally fine, which is mind-boggling alone to know how much you can, especially as
it gives me confidence in like making a mega dose. So guys, and like, man, I think grad school just really like screwed me up on this whole caffeine thing. Like I like over caffeine. Like my blood is like
caffeine.
Yeah.
It's thick.
Yeah,
your heart is just like,
I go to donate blood. They're like, sir, we can't use this. This is like, this is not healthy. This is just caffeine. So yeah, caffeine has a lot more indirect benefits on fat loss than it does direct benefits. And it used to be like we used to believe and used to think that it had a lot of direct stuff on fat metabolism, but it actually is a lot more indirect. Caffeine's going to do a bunch of things though. And I guess just to keep this thing quick, it's going to not really give you energy, but it is going to stop your body or like put the brake. It's almost like if you had a car and you could go faster by either, flooring it, or you could go faster when you don't want to by cutting the brakes, right? Like those are 2 ways that car will keep going when it shouldn't be going as fast. And caffeine is not going to to put the pedal to the metal in that car. Caffeine is going to cut the brakes. So when your body feels tired, when your body feels like it should be like slowing down, caffeine kind of goes in there and blocks a lot of those signals, so you don't feel the fatigue, you don't feel the pain, often associated with really high intensity work, and you're able to keep going. And so that is one of those ways where indirectly you're going to be able to work out harder towards those fat loss goals. But also it is going to do stuff towards fat metabolism, which, guys, like I better just like cut myself off right there, because like Adam said, like this is a topic that I feel very passionate about. I can just keep going and going. But yeah, caffeine, totally my number one supplement for weight loss. And also, I guess, since it is kind of a dangerous one, you can have a dangerous amount. It's recommended that you have anywhere. Oh goodness, talk to your doctor first before I say anything. Talk to your doctor first. Make sure you're good to go when it comes to supplementing with caffeine. But a lot of the evidence-based stuff, a lot of the peer-reviewed research papers that are citing the most evidence-based dose for caffeine, you're looking at around like 4 or 5 milligrams per kilogram body mass. And like if you do the math, so take your weight, divide it by 2.2, that's how many kilograms you are, times that by like 4 or 5, and that's a milligram dose of caffeine for one bout of exercise. So I'm not saying like throughout the day, I'm talking like in one sitting. That's going to help you to have a killer workout. And guys, like if you do the math, it's going to be a lot more than you probably think. Like you think like a typical energy drink, a Rockstar, a Monster, whatever, they'd be like 160 milligrams of caffeine. That's media, claims that to be really high. And there's a chance that the dose that we just mathematically calculated for you is going to be a lot more than like a single Rockstar or a single Monster or whatever, single like popular energy drink. And
so just for reference, my body weight's 109.09 kilos.
Yeah.
And if I times that by 5,
yep,
I can take in 545 and a half, basically 546
in one sitting.
Milligrams in one sitting, which is like
how many Rockstars is that?
Monsters.
So that's like
that's a ton.
Hold on, let's divide that by 120 now. So that's 4.5
Monsters,
16-ounce energy drinks
in one sitting.
Yeah, like pre-workout.
Yes.
Like that's a lot, and like that's also a lot of like a big volume of liquids. That's a lot to stomach.
A lot,
so what I've done is I just like went to the source and like ordered caffeine powder off of Amazon, and I just make my own pre-workout energy drinks. It's also pretty awesome stuff for late night study sessions.
Yes, for sure.
Anyway, though, we can talk more about caffeine, and I've written some blogs about caffeine, so hit up my website, fitandfizz.training, to go a little bit more about that. But my number 2 is fish oil. And for me, fish oil, like the things you said are all really valid and really effective for helping somebody to work out hard, and that is absolutely going to help them accomplish those fat loss goals. All the more so. Fish oil does some awesome stuff. So there's a couple of studies. I'll put them in the description notes. And by the way, sometimes we reference a lot of studies, and the description notes will cap us off after like so many characters. So if that happens, then I'll just make a blog post with all the full reference list on my website. But anyway, so there's some studies with fish oil, and these are like big doses of fish oil, like 2.5 grams or 3 grams, which is 2,500 or 3,000 milligrams of fish oil. And like typical, like a single fish oil pill might only be like a few hundred milligrams. So to say like 3,000 milligrams, we're talking like a handful basically of fish oil pills.
Yeah, I take like 8,000 IU a day.
Dude, rock on.
8 to 10,000 IU, which is a lot.
Yeah. So
many big pills.
In these studies, these guys were administering like 2.5 to 3 grams of fish oil per day, and they saw fat loss and also muscle gain and this was the intervention compared to the control group. Both received identical workout stimuli and stuff like that, but it was statistically significant with that high volume of fish oil that there was fat loss that occurred and also some muscle gain that occurred compared to the control group. And a lot of that can be explained by what fish oil does to our adipose. So like our stored body fat, it expresses genes, right? It replicates DNA. Like there's things that are happening in the nucleus of adipose, of the adipose cells, the adipocytes. And what fish oil can do is it can influence the gene expression of the adipocytes and determine from there. So what it's going to do, the gene is called PPAR gamma, which is like super cool stuff in case you guys are following along on like the deeper level there. Excuse me. So what PPAR gamma can do is it can influence how the body distributes and stores body fat, which is a game changer for people that are storing body fat in dangerous and unhealthy places, people that want to improve their health and improve their fitness by using fats as a fuel more for exercise. And also, it's going to do some things that are going to influence our insulin sensitivity, which is a really healthy thing that helps to protect us from things like insulin resistance.
Yes.
Fish oil, like through and through, super healthy and really great promising stuff, promising research I should specify, on its influence towards fat loss.
Another great supplement.
All right, so that was
this
kind of
pre-workout that I have in here because my face is really itchy right now.
You loving it?
I love it. Niacin and beta-alanine are my also favorites. Pre-workouts.
Dude, beta-alanine is awesome.
Lets you know, like, time to get in the ring, Tyson. Like, your face gets all prickly and you're like, yep.
You know what?
Let's do this.
All right, this reminds me. I was going through my supplement cupboard. I found some good stuff in there. I'm thinking one of these days we ought to do like a supplement taste test video.
What tastes like butt?
Yeah, like we got to do a review. Like some of these supplements like are chalky and nasty. Some of them
I think that'd be good because
good.
nothing pisses me off more than when I buy a supplement and the ingredients look awesome. The graphic, the logo on it just has me sold that I'm going to just be stupid strong the minute I take it. Like, I'm just going to be awesome. And then I put it down my gullet, and it immediately just makes me want to vomit on everything. It's disgusting. Yeah, like, you put it in your shake, and you take a drink, and you're like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. And you start getting the chills, the poop chills, where you get the goosebumps. You're like, can't finish.
Yeah,
can't
the shivers.
Yeah.
And then also, like, the coolest, most proud moment is when you make a whole blend, and it's like this swampy green thing. You're like, this is going to be bad.
Yeah.
And you take that first sip, and you're just like, whoa, this is
why
fantastic.
Why am I not a millionaire right now? How did I miss that?
Yeah, we had to do like a supplement taste
That'll
test
be next
review.
week, maybe.
That'd be fun.
All right, so let's get into our tips and tricks for weight
Oh, wait, we got
loss.
some worst supplements.
Oh, yeah, worst supplements.
You've got some stuff to say about this.
Oh, yes, I do.
So so we gave our top 2 favorites. Now, these are the ones that we recommend you avoid. These are the ones that are all about the hype and not so strong on the substance. I'm going to say my first one, and I'm just going to turn it over to you and let you kind of take it away because I know you've got some stuff to say. I'm going to keep mine super short. I explained a lot on my top 2 favorites. I'm going to keep this one short. The one that I say is bogus Garcinia cambogia. And man, like years ago, this thing was like the hottest thing. And like I'm sure it's still like super trendy. There's people probably listening like, what? That's my favorite thing.
What is my favorite thing ever?
All right. So not only are the claims not very valid, there is not a lot of research on Garcinia cambogia on human subjects. The research that has been conducted is not very strong. And next, even if it was really strong, like, have you guys ever like read like what it claims to do? Like what Garcinia claims to do is to block carbohydrates from absorbing from the gut into the blood. So, like, yeah.
It's a big shield. Stop!
Now, that might be really helpful if you are sedentary, if you don't exercise. But any sort of diet that suggests or puts a limitation against your exercise is not a diet that I recommend, and it's not a diet that's going to promote health and fitness or fat loss, right? So if you are exercising and you're blocking your carb absorption from your gut, then power to you, you are just blocking your fuel access to work hard. And if you're not able to work hard, then you are, again, just putting the biggest roadblock in front of any kind of fat loss outcome to those workouts.
Yep.
So that's my end of story. Garcinia cambogia. Forget about it. All right, Adam, let's hear yours.
Oh, Jesus, take the wheel. So,
I'm just like sitting back.
You know what really grinds my gears?
I do.
My number one most hated supplement right now, because it's literally just being peddled to every person out there that has any kind of a fat loss goal from, it seems like 30 pounds to 130 pounds, is phentermine. Phentermine just pisses me off to all extent for a couple reasons. One, it's being given to anybody who has any kind of a weight loss goal. It's not given to people that have a big goal, a goal that maybe they have 200 pounds to lose, and they have to get it done quickly because their health and their long-term health is on the line right now. And they're at this is their last line of defense, and they've got to get this ball rolling now to maybe help them with gastric or a sleeve or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that case, okay, we've got to get it going. But this stuff is giving to everybody. What I don't like is, one, you can only take it for up to 4 months, and then you got to come off of it, right? Which means that what happens when you come off and you cycle off, because it also helps suppress your appetite. It's supposed to help you suppress your appetite.
Yeah.
It gives you a form of energy to run off of, because if it's suppressing your appetite, that means you're probably not getting enough calories in to perform on a daily basis. So it's got to give you a false form of energy, right? It's not helping you change your eating patterns or how you're eating or your thought process or teaching you how to eat better.
Yeah, if you eat fast food like 3 meals a day, that's
congratulations, you went from 3 to 1. But then in 4 months, what happens?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Yeah,
you're going to go right back to where you were because you never learned how to eat better. You just took this pill. When you come off of them, a lot of people reported having tremendous headaches coming off there for weeks until they were done. They were almost like, I guess, withdrawing from what this was, which also sucks.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing is that we're just giving people pills and never teaching them how to get better. There's so much more that goes behind helping out somebody with their fat loss journey. And one of those things is their behavior and eating patterns and understanding how these foods work within the body. Even just the simple things, a simple staple of what is your metabolism. You know, somebody taking phentermine on a daily basis isn't going to learn what a metabolism is or does or how it works or how carbs are actually good for you and how good fats help you lose fat and how proteins help slow the absorption of carbs and fats in the body and how these things work together. You know, all it does is says eat less calories. Well, congratulations, for 4 months now you have no appetite. You're eating 500-600 calories a day. You're withering away. You're losing muscle. Yeah. You're slowing your metabolism down. You can't work out while you're on it. It's very hard because you don't have the caloric energy to work out. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, this ugly circle just doesn't make sense to me. So I hate that. I hate it so much. If you're taking it,
can I say something?
Yes, absolutely.
So on that exact note, just the other day I was chatting with a friend, and she was telling me how she hired a personal trainer like a year ago, and it was like the coolest thing for her. And I'm like, oh, awesome. You know, I like to hear these success stories.
Yeah.
And she's telling me how this trainer, though, was making these recommendations. And throughout the story, I'm like, oh, man, it kind of like starting to like boil my blood a little bit. You know, I take it real offensively, like when I hear these stories about these trainers who don't respect their clients, who don't do the things that they should be doing. You know, I feel like they're just muddying up the waters. Like, this is the field that I work in as a doctor in this field and as an exercise scientist, and I see these guys who don't even graduate high school, and that wasn't necessarily the case with my friend's trainer, but just in general, you know, a lot of certifications don't even require high school diplomas. And we get these guys claiming to be these health professionals because they maybe they look really cool. They've got a six-pack. They live in the gym, you know, and so they look great, but they're just full of bro science. Anyway, so this trainer, though, was telling my friend, making these recommendations to go down to like 1,400 calories. Ugh. And she's an athlete, dude. She's an athlete. She's working super hard. Do
you know where this comes from? I can tell you exactly where this comes from. People look at somebody's sheer size. They look at them and say, you look to weigh about this much. Or they'll say, how much do you weigh? I weigh X amount. You should be eating X amount of calories. Yeah. Which is bogus. There's so much more that goes into figuring how many calories you should be taking in to lose body fat. And that's how active are you during the day? Right. How much muscle do you have versus how much fat do you have?
What are your goals?
What are your goals? Like, what time frame do you want to accomplish?
Are you an athlete? Are you gaining?
Are you an athlete? Are you lifting more than you're doing cardio? How many days are you doing cardio a week? Like, these are all things a good trainer needs to know. How many days a week and what energy systems are you utilizing to be able to program a good foundation of a diet for you. It's just not how many calories you should be taking
Amen,
in.
brother.
I mean, it's such horse shit. Like, I want to karate chop those trainers in the throat. Like, mid-set, you should take in, wham! Shut up. There's so much more to this than just guessing and speculating, because caloric deficient will work for so long. And then guess what? They plateau. And they plateau for months, and then they come to guys like me and you and go, what happened now? And now we almost have to reset their body, get them eating more to be able to bring them down to even be at a caloric deficient. Because if you're at 1,400 calories, I can't pull more from you.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable going under 1,400 calories for most people, unless you're 4'11" and 105 pounds. Then there's maybe some justification there, but still, I hate that.
I remember this really classic article for women. It was about, it was targeted about women, about the female athlete triad, and it was suggesting that for female athletes to avoid this, you need to be eating at least 1,800 calories a day, and that has just been like kind of a hard rule for me too. Like working with athletes, just like all these recommendations about cutting calories so severely is just such an old school starvation tactic that
it goes along with like
so bogus.
Carb cycling, intermittent fasting. It's just a way to confuse the shit out of people to take money from. Like, can you lose weight from all of them? Yeah. You know what else you can do? I have this really cool diet. It's called the third world country diet. And you just don't eat, and you drink small amounts of water, and you lose a ton of weight. That's all. Like, there's a lot of ways to lose weight, but it's a science to lose body fat and keep muscle so that you actually have a metabolism. It's a science. Like, this isn't a skill set. A skill set is a guy who walks around with six-pack abs no matter what he has. Like, that could be like a skill set or genetics, but there's so much more to it than that.
Yep.
And this can't be a guessing game, because they're ruining people that way. Like, that's when you start going into things like metabolic syndromes, because you're just ruining people. And that can take a long time to fix. Along with the mental aspect of it. I don't know how many months it takes to get people over the fact that I want you to eat 60% of your day should be carbs. People are like, what? Like, yeah, weird.
Yeah.
Weird, because your body needs these things. Like, ugh. All right. So that's the number one. Phentermine is the number one thing that I hate. Like, if you're peddling phentermine, go to hell. Unless
also you have a friend who went to a doctor for like a migraine.
I had a friend that went to a client that went to the doctor for like kind of like cluster migraines. And when she went in from the last time she had been to the doctor, she had lost something like, 15 pounds. And the doctor said, wow, congratulations, you've lost some weight. She was like, yeah, I've been working with a trainer, and I feel like I'm doing well, and he's really got my, got me going in the right direction. And he goes, well, we can speed this up. We can add in phentermine to just really speed this up for you, which made no sense. We had been working together for under 8 weeks, and at this point she had lost almost 15 pounds, and he's still recommending this when she's changing her behavior pattern. She's like, what? She came in for headaches, and you're giving her like. It just really made no sense to me.
And it's offensive that these doctors are.
Are doctors getting kickbacks for this, for like prescribing certain things? Like, they get a
right.
Like, it just makes me wonder a lot of things. Like, that wasn't even what she was in there for, so it just makes me mad. I know not every doctor's doing this. Not every place that has phentermine are preying on people like this. But I see it happening more and more, and it sucks. And if you are preying on people like that, jump off a building. Like, seriously, because you're ruining it for the rest of us that really do give a shit about how people get better.
Yeah, if you are a healthcare practitioner, then try recommending and prescribing exercise. Really, that is the magic pill that's going to help people to improve their health, prevent diseases, all this wonderful stuff. And anyway, we can both get worked up on that one.
Yeah. So let's get into this tips and tricks now, because I'm sure people listening to this like, bro, just give me the secret sauce.
So we've talked about supplements. We talked about the goods, the bads.
What you should take and what you stay away from.
So I think what you just said a minute ago, though, is a beautiful segue into the content, the topic of the week here of weight loss versus weight loss. Should we even be talking about weight loss?
No.
We should be talking about fat loss.
Yes.
So, Adam, talk to us. What is weight loss versus fat loss?
So fat loss is just exactly how it sounds. It's and I don't even want to go as far as say losing body fat, because I think that people take even that little bit, losing fat, out of context, because you never lose fat. Like, you're born with fat cells. We'll just like I guess you do lose what's like where fat gets stored inside. So
Can I say
guess,
something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and I'm sorry, I just also get real passionate about this one. I don't mean to cut you off, interrupt
No,
your
you're
train of thought. Another thing that people do get so obsessed over fat loss. Our vernacular, gym language, lingo, marketing stuff. We talk about fat burn, fat loss,
Yeah.
interchangeably. When you are burning fat, then what that is technically referring to is fat metabolism. Fat metabolism and fat loss, while related, are separate things. So on treadmills and ellipticals and bikes and all these like cardio equipment stuff, we have the fat burn zone. And so this is a zone where people are like, oh, this is where I'm going to lose the most fat. And they get all these things confused. Like, yeah, you might be metabolizing and mobilizing fats more in this zone, but that doesn't mean you're going to be losing the most fat in this zone. So again, just to kind of what you were just barely saying there, like people get so obsessed over the phrase fat loss
And what it is and how
it's so true, and it's corrupted so much of how we exercise and how we like even exercise equipment telling us what heart rate zone we should be in and stuff like that. It really so again, fat metabolism, which is fat burn, is a separate thing from fat loss. You can lose fat while metabolizing exclusively carbohydrates. You don't need to be exclusive, or you don't need to be primarily burning fats as a fuel source to be losing the most amount of fat. And so anyway, like it needs to be separate, but modern gym culture and lingo and all this stuff has combined it into one, and it's become confusing. It's become messed up.
For sure. So getting rid of body fat, I'll say that.
Yeah.
getting rid of it. What was the question again?
What is weight loss versus fat
weight
loss?
Versus
yeah,
fat loss.
I know we get so worked up.
Yeah. So weight loss, technically, like if you cut off your arm or your leg, that's weight. Weight doesn't describe anything specific. You know, weight is if you stepped on the scale fully clothed and then stepped back on naked, you've lost weight because weight was on you in the version of clothes, right?
Yeah.
So weight loss is not specific enough. So getting rid of your body fat is different because now we're talking about something specific, the stuff that we don't like, because fat don't flex, right? Fat does not flex, I should say. So we're trying to get rid of that jiggly stuff that is subcutaneous under the skin, and then anything that might be hanging out around organs, which hopefully we don't have a lot of.
Yeah.
That's real bad. But the fat specifically, fat loss is getting rid of fat is what we should be talking about. So one is just getting weight, can be anything. It could be water, it could be bone density, it could be blood, it could be your clothes, it could be shaving your head. That's weight loss.
Yeah.
Fat loss or getting rid of fat is fat exclusively, just that. And so we're going to talk about getting rid of fat because weight, best way to lose weight, starve yourself. And question answered. Moving on to getting rid of body fat now.
Yeah, losing weight is totally different than losing fat.
Yeah, and so I want to talk about a few ways that I help out clients do it. Like the cool thing about this is that the way I do it isn't the way you do it, because you work not exclusively, but you work with a lot of athletes. You're looking for more of a physiological change in the body where they can feel it in performance and see it. Where I'm working with Mrs. Jones, it's that I can't go to Mrs. Jones after 2 weeks and if that scale hasn't moved and say, but Mrs. Jones, hold on. There's a lot of other things physiologically that are working in your body for long-term health. And
Mrs. Jones doesn't care about that.
Yeah, she's like, I don't give a shit, Adam. I want to see that scale go down. That's what I care about. So it's walking this very fine line of trying to get these physiological things to happen for long-term health, but also showing her the micro of it, of saying, here's a pound or two lost this week. Here's a pound or two lost this week. You know, because there's so many people out there, so many trainers, coaches, however you want to put it, that are, their claim to fame is helping people lose weight, and they're not really helping them lose fat, or they don't see the scale move. So it really is this like gray area that, because of the clientele I work with, I have to be within to keep clientele happy, and keep them believing in themselves, because that's a big portion of this, you know. So in one of those things is one of my best fitness tips is going to go back to kind of what you said. Two things you said is, one, the vernacular, how you speak about things, because how you speak about things is what you're putting in your head. So if you're constantly saying things like weight loss instead of fat loss, That's going to start playing in your head a bit. Also, my next biggest tip is do not make vanity your number one thing. You need to sit in the mirror and have a talk with you and you only about why you're doing this. And just the sheer, I want to do it to lose weight is not going to cut it, because what's going to happen is you're going to obsess over that. The minute you obsess over that, your body's going to stress out, and your weight will not move. No matter how deficient your calories are, no matter how many carbs you take away, no matter how many hours you spend in the gym, like your weight, your body fat, nothing will move because you're stressing about it so much. So you need to have a talk with you in the mirror and say, what is your why? Why are you doing this? Are you doing this because, I had worked with a guy one time that his why was the summer before his son wanted to go out and ride his bike. He had just got his training wheels taken off. And his dad was too big to ride a bike. And within a couple weeks, his son was riding his bike with, his little friend Timmy or whatever down the street. And Timmy's dad was riding the bikes with them every night. And he felt like as a dad, he was losing his job to another dad.
Yeah.
That was his why. So that needed to be his big reason. And he lost a lot of his body fat because that was his why. The byproduct he was working for was to be a better dad. Or he was working to be a better dad. The byproduct was he was going to lose weight in that process and be a role model. So those are two of my biggest tips to give you beyond just should you intermittent fast, should you carb cycle, should you do these things. I mean, there's a lot, there's some underlying deep emotional shit to this that you've got to conquer before just saying, I want to lose 30 pounds, that's why.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut the mustard. That won't,
I love that. And kind of going back to my friend Vanessa, or Dr. Kircher. I think I called her Dr. Martinez before. That's her maiden name. She got married a couple of years ago.
Samesies.
Anyway, Vanessa, with her research in sports psychology, again reinforcing that, like, if you just come into this saying, I want to lose weight, then that's not enough. There has to be more reasons or deeper reasons behind that sort of motivation, because you're going to hit a point where it's going to be hard work. It's going to be like a rainy day. It's these things are going to be in your way.
There's a bunch of reasons why you quit. I mean, I would love to say the reason why people go to work every day is strictly for their check, but their why is a lot bigger than that. They have kids, they have a house, they have people that depend on them. Those are their why way before getting this check. You know what I mean? And we have to take that same outlook and apply it to this and know that we have a bigger why than just 30 pounds. Like, why 30 pounds? What happened? Did you look in the mirror this morning? You suddenly saw a different person? Did somebody take a picture and put it on Facebook and suddenly you saw yourself for the first time in true light? Because what happens, in my opinion, is that we're really good at hiding a lot. And I would say, and I don't want to make this about women, but it's a little bit easier for women because they have like Spanx and they have, they cut clothes in certain ways to hide certain things. And we shop in ways to hide things.
You mean you don't wear Spanx?
And I don't have to anymore now that you helped me lose all my weight. Now that I'm not 300 pounds anymore.
Yeah.
But when we spend 12, 18 hours of our day in these clothes that hide all of our faults, that is the person we begin to see. So we don't see this person. We don't see ourselves for who we truly are anymore. We see this hidden person that we've created in the mirror. So we don't know. We have no call to action for ourselves anymore. Now, it makes us achieving our goal, it makes that a lot harder to do because we don't have that call to action until one day somebody catches that picture of you slipping. Somebody catches you relaxed. My brother caught me with my shirt off and I wasn't standing up straight. I wasn't flexed and I looked like Slimer from the Ghostbusters. And I saw that and I was like, dude, if this ever hits the light of day, I promise you won't see the light of day.
Yeah.
This does not go out on any. So I was embarrassed, and that's when I hit you up. I was like, I got to change this. I didn't know I looked like that, because when we look at ourselves in the mirror, bathroom lighting is the best lighting ever. It shadows us perfectly. And all it takes is standing up straight, turn yourself to the side a little bit. Now all this is elongated and you look amazing. Unfortunately, that's not how you look all the time.
Yeah.
You just made yourself look that way, and now you don't have that call to action again. So those are very, very important things to have, that, to know yourself, know what you really look like, to almost embrace that suck.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to get you through, like you said, those days that you don't want to work out and you don't want to come to the gym, and you rather, especially now it's getting cold out, especially here in Colorado. Like on cold days, I'd much rather sit at home and eat some chili and cinnamon rolls, some pumpkin spice cinnamon rolls.
Totally.
Like, that would be what I'd rather do.
Thank you, dude. Powerful insight stuff. This reminds me of a lecture I attended about 4 years ago. So it was 2013. I was in Las Vegas for the National Strength and Conditioning Association's national annual research conference. And throughout that whole conference, I remember there was some lectures I wanted to go and visit and stuff. And there was one lecture that I went to that when I walked in the door, it was not a lecture. It was like a group workout class. I was like, oh, I thought this would be like about the science of the topic, not like an actual like presentation demonstration thing. So I was just wandering the halls, and I stumbled upon another lecture, kind of by accident, that just so happened to be one of the most influential lectures I've ever attended. And it was on weight loss, metabolism, and nutrition. I didn't come prepared. I grabbed a notepad. It was at Caesar's Palace. I grabbed a Caesar's Palace notepad from some like in the hall, and I grabbed a Caesar's Palace pen. I went sat in on this lecture, and I filled up this little like 9-inch sheet of paper full of notes. This thing was just, and I still have the note paper. I took a picture of it. I'll post it on my website. You guys can actually see the notes I took from this conference. The things that they were discussed, the panel that was speaking. I mean, these are the guys that are conducting research. And like I mentioned in previous podcasts, like all of my research background is in fat metabolism research, basically. I've studied energy expenditure, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, comparing different sports and different activities for that epoch, which is, I guess, for like modern language, like that's like the afterburn. Yep. So how many calories you burn after an exercise. I've spent like the entirety of my professional career as an exercise physiologist in the lab conducting, publishing research in metabolism. So when these guys were talking, I knew who they were. I knew the speakers. These are the guys that are like the heroes, the research heroes who publish the stuff that I look up to. And it was a really cool thing. One of the things that they mentioned, I wrote down in these notes, and I'm looking at my exact notes right now, that they said there was 3 principles of fat loss, of weight loss, that they had found from their experience in the laboratory. So I'm going to share this with you guys. Number 1 is that the rate of weight loss should be slow. Now, also, I should preface here, these guys, this is the National Strength and Conditioning Association, primarily targeting, the information that they were relaying was mostly meant for coaches, so that it could be relayed to athletes. So they were primarily talking about athletes in these contexts. But they were saying like athletes anywhere from like 0.7 to 1.0% of their body mass per week is an appropriate weight loss rate. Number 2, the second principle of weight loss, do not lower dietary protein when dieting. So if you're going to reduce your calories and stuff like that, they were suggesting lowering carbs and fats, but don't touch your protein. And then they said that the third principle of weight loss is to perform resistance training during energy restriction. Energy restriction means like lowering your calories. So if you're going to diet, if you're going to cut some calories, don't cut protein. And if you are going to cut calories in an effort to lose weight and lose fat, you have to be lifting weight. They want you to be doing resistance training. And I thought this was really cool stuff. I agreed with that, and they were explaining the research behind it all. And they started getting a little bit specific. People were asking them questions about dietary protein, and the things that they said next really just kind of blew me away. It pretty much fills up the whole second half of my note page here. They were saying that from their experience in the lab, that if people eat less than 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram body mass, and less than 1.5, I mean, 1.5 is still kind of a lot. And I say kind of, that's relative. Right now, the current recommended daily allowance for protein just per day is 0.8 grams per kilogram. So a lot of like nutritionists and dietitians and the people that make like the federal guidelines for nutrition, they say that 0.8 grams of protein for every kilogram that you are is adequate. But that's the tricky thing. It's adequate for what? Adequate for just surviving, for not like withering away and dying, or like adequate for athleticism and improving your health.
Yeah.
Like they don't define that. These researchers were defining that, and they defined it that 0.8 was not adequate for health and fitness. They were saying if you eat less than 1.5, which is almost twice what our federal guidelines are for protein, right? So if you eat less than 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram body mass, then when you lose weight, then you're losing 61 to 70% of that weight loss is lean body mass. So in other words, let's say you lose 10 pounds, all right? Let's say you work hard and you're watching your diet and so many weeks go by and 10 pounds have gone off the scale.
6 to 7 of those pounds are muscle.
Yeah. 6 to 7 of that is muscle.
And every 1 pound of muscle burns how many calories a day?
Oh gosh.
Like 12 or
It's in kilograms. So yeah, a kilogram of muscle mass will burn about 12 to 15 calories a day.
Okay. So if you lost 7 of those,
yeah. Basically, you're
losing a lot of.
You're compromising your basal metabolic rate for sure.
Your BMR big time.
But
your BMR goes down, and your body can't take care of can't eat as many calories.
Even worse, like you didn't lose fat, you lost muscle. And if you are losing
you're just
muscle,
as jiggly as you were.
Maybe even
more
worse
jiggly.
now.
Yeah, you're actually worse because there's no structure under there to like.
Yeah, like this is not a healthy or sustainable way to lose the weight that you want. So what they were saying is, according to their findings in their lab, that you should be aiming for 1.5 to 2.3 grams of protein per kilogram body mass in order to lose weight and retain lean body mass. In other words, you kind of force the hand of your adipose, which is your stored body fat, your fat is what's going to be lost. So in other words, let me just summarize all this. When you lose weight, your body prioritizes losing muscle over losing fat. Your body wants to hold on to fat. It's a survival mechanism. All these things are happening. Your body just prefers to hold on to it, right? It's the path of least resistance. It's so much easier for your body to sacrifice and lose muscle mass. So in order to maintain that muscle mass, you need to be lifting weights and eating enough dietary protein to support building new muscle.
And taking my second favorite supplement, amino acids.
So when you do that, what's happening is instead of losing the muscle, stimulating it for growth is actually just going to, at the end of the day, keep it kind of neutral, right? So your body wants to lose the muscle, but you're training your body to gain muscle. So at the end of the day, it's neutral. So you're just kind of right where you were with the amount of muscle mass you had before. But the thing that will be lost is the remainder, which is the body fat. So they were saying lift weights, don't cut back on your protein, and as a matter of fact, specifically aim for between 1.5 to 2.3 grams of protein per kilogram body mass, and just to be patient with it. Take it kind of slow, and give your body that respect and timing to accomplish these goals.
So let's put that in perspective. So let's say you're an average woman weighs 150 pounds.
Okay.
Times
divided by 2.2.
Divided by 2.2. Mm-hmm. Divided by 2.2 equals 68.18 kilos. You said times by 1.5?
Correct.
Times by 1.5. So you need to be taking, if you're a 150-pound female, you should be taking that at minimum 102 grams a day, which I can speak to this. 90% of my clientele are females. 98% of my clientele do not get in their protein intake. This much or more protein intake. I can speak to that all day. I will blanket statement the shit out of that because it's totally true. So protein is something we have to be very diligent, and men too.
Yeah.
Men too. I mean, we got to be very diligent about getting that in because every guy wants to, either look like the guy in the front of, look like Hugh Jackman or the guy in front of Health and Fitness. Like, that's not going to happen when you're taking in 110 grams of protein a day.
Right.
Like, that's just not. I don't care how heavy you lift. I don't care how many push-ups you do. It's just, the muscle growth is not going to happen.
Right.
For men, let me speak to muscle growth is not going to happen because you're probably not at the caloric surplus. You're not taking enough protein in, so your body just does not have the means. It's like having literally not a drop of gas in your car and saying, why can I not start it and go anywhere? Like, you have no gas. This is physically impossible to do. Like, unless you're a genetic monster or you drive a Tesla, gas makes a difference. Like, it is a game changer in this. And protein and calories are a game changer in this. Yeah. Gotta have it.
Yeah.
Got to. So let's quickly. Yeah. Two of your best pieces of advice for people that are wanting to get rid of body fat.
My top two pieces of advice. All right. I would say adjust your workouts for high intensity interval training.
Boom.
Yeah. Kind of the name of the podcast, HIITCAST.
HIITCAST.
Adjust your training.
HIIT training.
Prioritize high intensity interval training.
Now, do you have to do that every day?
You do not. You can get away with 3 times a week, even 2 times a week, and you don't even have to do that much. If in a lot of the studies that I've read, even as something as short as 4 minutes of cumulative work. And so if you're doing like a 1-to-2 work to rest ratio, so like 30-second sprints, 60-second rest, so that's 12 minutes total. So 4 minutes of that 12 minutes will be work. 8 minutes of that 12 will be rest. So 4 minutes of cumulative work is enough to be validated across multiple research studies for statistically significant changes in your health, in your fitness, in your body composition, and how your body stores body fat. So that would be number one, to adjust and prioritize for high-intensity interval training. And number two would be kind of what I just shared, make sure you're getting enough dietary protein. And that would, those are number 1 and 2. What about you?
Okay. Mine are going to be a little bit off of like specific things you can take or styles of exercises I'm sure everybody's like looking for. They want that secret sauce. My secret sauce would be this, and I don't want to say it goes against what you say.
It's cool.
But for me, being a trainer, and for yourself, mine would be log your food. Almost 100% of my clients, if they reach out to me and say, Adam, I've plateaued, then when I go back to look at the data of what they're eating, what their macros look like, how they're working out, the number one thing I see is they're not logging their food. And the conversation is, Mrs. Jones, you didn't log your food last week. And they go, but I ate healthy. My response is, Mrs. Jones, when we first got together, we discussed your fitness goals. You told me how you made healthy choices and you ate healthy, but you weren't losing. So we're falling back into that. Number one would be make sure you're logging your food. Not logging your food is like spending money and never looking at your bank account, hoping you never overdraw or hoping you never overspend. Like, that's going to happen. If you don't keep a hold of your bank account, you will overspend. If you are not logging your calories, at least at the beginning, so you understand it, like you're going to over or under eat, or your macros are going to be off. Something's going to be off there, because what I find is most people don't typically overeat every day. They just eat crazy unbalanced. Carbs are up here, fats are up here, protein is down here. And then they're like, I don't know why this is happening. Well, because you're giving your body more energy than it knows what to do with, and you're not using it. So body's going to say, store it for later. Like, that's the way it is. So logging your calories is going to be huge. And then 2 would be adjusting your workouts to HIIT training. Yeah. Like, HIIT training enables you. We, as a society, have less time to do anything. So if you could work out 3 days a week for 30 minutes, and HIIT training is a bit tougher. It's harder, but I'd much rather just rip off the Band-Aid, get done in 20 to 30 minutes, 3 days a week, than spend 6 days a week doing, steady state anything at all. So HIIT training would be number 2. If you can start HIIT training and logging your food, you're going to start realizing how little work you actually do and how much you eat unbalanced.
I love that.
Like, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Keep it very simple.
Dude, that I think that's fantastic advice.
Best ab workout and why?
We have one more. We have time for one more little popcorn question.
Yep, let's get one more pop question.
All right,
so best ab workout and why?
This is a question that I was asking my friends over the weekend too. And I think it kind of continues on with this theme of weight loss, looking trim, looking good. A lot of people associate that with like having a really rocking 6-pack. And I was thinking about this, like what is, my friends, I was asking them, what is your favorite ab workout or the best one you would recommend. A lot of my friends are coaches and trainers, and I asked them to justify it. So I've got a workout in mind, but Adam, I actually want to hear yours first.
So mine is because, once again, I train, Mrs. Jones, who's trying to lose anywhere from 30 to 100 pounds. A lot of times it's post-baby. So I teach the McGill crunch. It was actually taught to be by a trainer about 2-3 years ago. But I love the McGill crunch because a lot of times when we are doing crunches, we just think about bringing our shoulders up or rolling our body up. We don't think about what has to happen in the pelvic region to make sure we're actually firing our core. And a lot of times, especially women who post-baby, who hold babies, we tend to have a little bit of duck butt. And when you're laying on your back and you're trying to curl up, there is a natural S curve that you're supposed to have, but a lot of times it's really dramatic. You have a lot
exaggerated,
you have a lot of anterior pelvic tilt, which means that you can't fire the ab. Like you can't get it there to fire because a stretched out muscle is a very hard muscle to fire. So what we can do is, one, when you're doing a sit-up, think about pressing your back into the floor and then doing a crunch or a sit-up. But if you have that dramatic pelvic tilt, that's even hard to do, and you feel it in your neck, you feel it in your low back, you feel it everywhere else but your abs. So putting your hands under your low back and taking up a lot of that room in your lumbar spine, and then thinking about pushing your back down into your hand, it helps you actually push into something solid so you can start firing the core more and more. And once you can start firing it and you start feeling it, especially if you had a C-section, it's very hard for you to feel the abs.
Yeah. Doing
those is a great one, and so you don't feel it in the neck. And then progressing on to a crunch or something like that. For me, that's one of the best because it's taught so many women how to fire the ab again, how to start working the core. Because if your core isn't firing, I mean, it's very hard to progress into any other movement.
Dude, I love that.
So that's mine.
Also, what I like about that is it reminds me of some stuff from like studying kinesiology. The lower back, the lumbar spine. So the lumbar region of the spine specifically has only 30 degrees of flexion. So if you are doing a sit-up beyond, let's say you're laying flat on the ground, right? And so like if you think of like your hip as like the center of like a protractor, if you come up beyond 30 degrees, then anything beyond that, which is possible, like you can do a sit-up like all the way straight up. And the reason why is because you also have hip flexors. And so if you're doing a sit-up beyond 30 degrees, then you're no longer just engaging that core. Now you're engaging hip flexors. And so now it's like not even so much of an ab workout as it is other muscles that stretch across the hip joint. And so what you're saying, what you're defining and describing, like allows for that target. You don't have to go up all the way, like you were saying. And that really just targets the core.
That specific area, which is a reason why when people do like the Roman chair, like leg lifts,
right?
They're like, I feel it in my hip flexors, like because you're almost only using hip flexors right now. I mean, you're going from 0 all the way up to 90 degrees. I mean, that's like doing a full press and saying I want to be able to do this with dumbbells, but not feel it in my triceps. Well, unfortunately, from here to here, it's going to be triceps.
Yep.
So you have to shorten that range of motion now. So that movement does help shorten it and just target that area to get it firing correctly again. What's yours?
So mine is, I'm pretty sure, pretty unique. I don't think a lot of people think of this as a six-pack workout. The overhead squat. And actually this reminds me of like some fact checking from last week. So I was talking about like doing a box jump and then progressing with like weight vests and stuff like that. I was listening to last week's podcast, and then I started talking about like adding a barbell to your back. In my mind, I was talking about like independent, isolated workouts, but when I was listening to it, it made it sound like I'm talking about doing a box jump with a barbell on your back.
Yeah.
So no,
I'm glad you cleared it because I thought too. I was like, I mean, I wouldn't have somebody do a box jump axial loaded, but I mean,
no, that
is
like
maybe
the most dangerous
time and place for it.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted.
What's next? Standing on a physio ball?
Yeah. So no, last week when I was talking about that, I meant like box jump, independent as its own workout, and then other related stuff, squat like exercises like bodyweight squats or squats with a weight vest, squats with a barbell.
Perfect.
Anyway, so yeah, overhead squat though. So any type of overhead exercise is going to engage the core. The thing is, like, I'm sure you've had this too. Like, you get these people that come into your office and they're like, man, I really want a six pack. And you're asking them, like, okay, like, well, what are you doing about that? And they're like, oh man, like, I can do like 5,000 crunches like, that's what I do. And now I'm so strong, I can do like 5,000 crunches every single night. It's like, in order to develop those muscles for hypertrophy, and hypertrophy means you're growing the diameter of those muscle fibers. So in other words, like, you're growing larger muscle. Like the abs, they're naturally a really flat muscle. And so for them to stick out six-pack style, those ones are trained. You got to train that for hypertrophy. And the protocol for hypertrophy is really, you want to hit that like 8 to 12 rep max range.
NASM recommends 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down as the tempo. As optimal hypertrophy tempo is 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down for maximal hypertrophy tempo.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah.
I'm not doubting you.
That's what NASM said.
Right.
Like, optimally 8 to 12 reps.
Could you send me the link to that?
2 seconds up. I'll have to find it.
Yeah,
I
find
read
it,
it like
send
2-3
it to
years
me.
ago.
Well, so guys, like, this is how hypertrophy works.
It's time under tension, really. So I don't think 2 seconds or 4 seconds is really going to be. His abs look a lot better because he does 4 seconds and I do too. Like, you're splitting hairs.
And time under tension is also a generalized interpretation of physiologically what's happening. The thing that creates hypertrophy is testosterone or growth hormone circulating in your body. So for men, you can do an exercise that's going to stimulate testosterone. For women, it would not stimulate testosterone; it would stimulate growth hormone. These are anabolic hormones. And growth hormone is also going to be released in men, and growth hormone will stimulate testosterone. So really, it's like, how do we, both men and women, stimulate growth hormone for during that workout and also subsequent to the workout, right? As like right after the workout, you'll have an increase in circulating growth hormone. So growth hormone is released during really acidic conditions. So if you are exercising at really high intensity and you're exercising above lactate threshold, then there's a strong correlation to those exercise intensities and the release of growth hormone. Also, hypoglycemic conditions stimulate the release of growth hormone, which coincidentally is like above lactate threshold, right? Because if you're exercising really hard, you're blasting through all the blood glucose that you have, and so you're using the glucose that's available, and as a result, you are low on the remaining glucose. And when you're low on that remaining glucose, growth hormone will be released. So like exercising at really high intensities and having really short rest periods and having multiple sets, so high volume, low rest period, and moderately high intensity lifts is the protocol that helps to stimulate hypertrophy. So for sit-ups, like if you're doing like 1,000 sit-ups a night, that is in order to do 1,000 of anything, that is such a low intensity. It's such a low load that you have to endure that it's not strong enough to get you working above lactate threshold. If we're not at that point, if we're not creating those conditions that stimulate growth hormone, then we're not stimulating the conditions that are anabolic, that are going to result in hypertrophy. So it's like body weight stuff is not enough. You can train your body past body weight really fast, like within a month, you'll be able to blast through like 100 sit-ups from where you were started at the beginning of the month. And then it'll be like those people that are sitting in our office being like, I do 5,000 sit-ups a night and I still don't have a six-pack. I don't get it. It's because the intensity load is not enough. So with the beauty of an overhead squat, anything overhead is going to engage the core. It's more than that. It's also a multi-joint exercise. So now we're doing something that's going to have a really strong stimulus. It's going to really effectively stimulate growth hormone release, way more than just a single joint exercise. Plus, since we're using a barbell, we can, as time goes on, as we get stronger, increase the load so that we are hitting that target hypertrophy protocol of like that 8 to 12 rep max range. Plus, overhead squat is just like super cool.
Yeah, it's a badass exercise.
Yeah.
If you're advanced.
Yeah, do it right.
Yeah,
This isn't like a novice kind of a workout.
Find someone to teach you.
Find someone to
this
teach
this
you.
isn't a movement you learn on YouTube, that's for sure.
But yeah, for those reasons, if you want a killer six pack, I say overhead squat.
Okay, cool. So social media, where
Yeah.
can they find you, Dr. Trevor Binion?
You guys can find me at Fit and Fizz on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also I upgraded my Snapchat a little bit. So before I had like just a personal Snapchat, and like just today I made a Fit and Fizz Snapchat. So you've inspired me. Before I was just like I've had my other personal Snapchat for like I don't know so many years, and that's been like just my go-to. But I figured like I kind of want to advertise my Snapchat, but I don't want to just use my personal Snapchat. So yeah,
Personal one.
at Fit and Fizz is the username. Hit me up.
Speaking of Snapchat,
Yep, at Fit and Fizz, guys. Hit me up on Snapchat.
Fit Fizz
Um,
podcast shit.
so yeah, social media is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat now, at Fit and Fizz. Hit me up on my website where you'll find stuff about this podcast, about HIITCAST, the reference list to previous episodes, and all sorts of other way cool stuff that I recommend for training stuff like that and my online courses. That's at www.fitandfizz.training. Adam, what about you? Where can they find you?
Find me at on Instagram at HITCampCO. Find me on Facebook at HITCamp_CO. You can find me at Geiger Strength on Snapchat. Those are the three that I do.
Yep.
So that's it. All right, guys.
And your website?
Oh, my website, www.hitboxcolorado.com.
And if they happen to be in the Denver area and want the coolest gym to work out, where should they go?
Definitely come to Hitbox. Your first week is on me. Let's create life athletes. Let's get busy in the gym. We're here to help out. There it is.
Guys, thank you so much. This is a deep and powerful episode about weight loss, fat loss. We conquered a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Hit us up with your best questions. Hit us up on these social medias with your questions. We'll tackle these topics in upcoming episodes.
All right, guys. Have a good one.